I love talking about PS2 games, and especially those deserving of trophies, and seeing as I single-handedly willed Time Splitters back into existence, you're welcome, I thought I'd tackle a part 2, in hopes of resurrecting some of these gems. So let's talk about what we can hope for in PS2 games I wish had trophies, part 2.
Here comes a new challenger. You must crush them.
First up, I have to talk about Capcom SNK and Marvel. There are some really cool things happening in the FGC at the moment, and it's all down to a Marvel vs Capcom fighting game collection coming out later this year. Now, this was announced recently at a Nintendo Direct of all places.
What the fuck?
It caused people to actually lose their It's a massive deal, these games. They haven't been available to buy individually for over a decade, yet alone all together in a single package. Also, with Terry and Mai coming to Street Fighter 6 as Year 2 DLC later this year, which are essentially SNK's biggest characters, they're Ryu and Chun-Li. It all marks a huge return to Capcom collaborations. The popularity of Marvel vs Capcom 2, with Capcom and SNK's partnership being back in full swing, can only paint a picture of Capcom vs SNK 2 returning. Which is awesome because it's one of my favourite fighters of all time. It was so iconic, such a well-received game, memorable for its massive roster, cool stages, and more than catchy music. The character art is also iconic. It's just so cool seeing Ryu, Sakura, and all my other favourite characters being portrayed in this style. My favourite thing is actually the 3D stages. The 2D sprites just pop against these backdrops and it just makes it look so cool. I mean, look at this London bus, for Christ's sake. This whole level is art. The only thing that'd make this better are trophies. There's plenty of modes that require challenge like any fighting game. Other SNK titles have trophies like completing the game with all characters, survival related stuff, artwork collecting, performing perfect knockouts, or finishing rounds with a super. All pretty standard fare for fighting games, but that wouldn't matter to me because this game is so special. I would just be happy playing it on my PS5 again.
It's such a shame, but I wait for your next challenge. I know that you'll be back.
Alright, it's no secret Contra has been in a very strange place lately. We can thank Contra Rogue Corps for that. It nearly killed the series, the worst received Contra to date. The tone was off, the characters were dumb for the sake of being dumb. There was a reload mechanic from what I've seen in Contra, a game about bullets, lots and lots of bullets, shooting them, dodging them. It just makes no sense to me. This high profile return from Konami did no favours for the series, but it looks like the newest entry, Operation Galuga, put it back on the right track again. That's really cool. What I enjoyed back in the day and grew up playing was NeoContra on the PS2, and honestly, watch 5 seconds of this intro and tell me it isn't insane and awesome. There's just this level of absurdity that makes it ridiculous and badass at the same time. I mean, that guy just cut a missile in half with his samurai sword. And NeoContra being sung with the power of Celine Dion never fails to amaze me. It also happens to be a fantastic game and goes fully isometric, yet somehow retains what made Contra so good in the first place, which is going to be bullet hell, tight controls, big explosions, awesome weapon selection, and a banging soundtrack. The levels are varied and difficult, featuring many unique mini-bosses and gameplay elements throughout. My favourite level starts with you running on these helicopter blades, which is fucking brilliant. When the cutscene starts, you can't even tell what's really going on, and it just zooms out and there he is running on the blades, and that's where you start the level. It's so funny. I think it would be a really worthy platinum if they leaned into the difficulty, completing the game with no continues and other sadistic challenges. I'm always looking to play games like Contra. This time last year I think I was playing Blazing Chrome, which ended up as being one of my favourite platinums of 2023. Blistering action, fast pace, I just love it. I think this has a good chance of appearing on PlayStation Catalog one day. Konami seem to be interested in their IPs again, releasing new games in Contra, Silent Hill, Metal Gear. So hopefully they return to one of the better, well-received sequels that was NeoContra.
Morning, KOS-MOS. How do you feel?
If the last couple of games are likely to appear, I think Zenos Saga is the least likely. A grand epic of an RPG has 2 follow-up sequels featuring hours and hours of content. It wouldn't make sense to release only part 1. No, this would have to be a trilogy, and I'm not going to pretend I know what's going on with the Zeno series. It started with Xenogears on the PS1, which has a clamouring for its own remake or re-release. The current games of Xenoblade on the Nintendo Switch seem all well received. I think they are all connected in some way, their gameplay ideas and themes, but not necessarily characters and story, kinda like Final Fantasy. But it's only Zenos Saga for me, the games I grew up playing. I should give the others a go, as I'm sure I'd enjoy them. The characters, story and combat are so good in episode 1, it really drew me in. So good in fact that it actually inspired my username and online ID. It's not actually anything to do with Hitman or Agent 47, which most people lean towards when they guess. There is a twist though. It should be mode A7, which is a simple magic command in the game. A buff that KOS-MOS uses that raises strength and defense, I think. Anyway, my CRT TV was so bad at the time, I read it as mode 47 instead of mode A7, and that's it. I felt a bit silly years later, put it that way. Mode A7 trophy hunt, I don't know, it sounds a bit like a motorway, so I'm glad I didn't go with it. This is one of my favourite RPGs. The exploration sections are pretty linear, but the combat system is more than decent. Turn-based with tech magic abilities, multi-attack turns with some great looking animations. Throw in some giant mechs you can summon and it's pretty great. RPG trophies are always going to involve leveling, grinding, completion, and my favourite, optional endgame super bosses, which I'm happy to say Zenos Saga has. The story is my favourite thing about it, with KOS-MOS being the centre of it all. Robot girl programmed to protect the universe from an unknown alien threat centering around a mysterious object dug up from the past. She's learning to love, or protect the ones she's programmed to love at least, I don't know. It's been a while, I should replay it. It's quite cliche looking back, it's just something I've always enjoyed. I whacked down £100 at a con to buy the super limited edition after spotting it. That should tell you how I feel about the game. I can only hope it returns one day with some trophies to earn.
Alright, see you later.
Cold Fear is a third-person survival horror set on a really cool, unique setting. A big whaler, that's right, a big boat. You play as Tom Hansen, a US Coastal Guard and a bit of an idiot.
I'm Tom Hansen, USCG.
You bring terrible news.
He bumbles his way through better than they should be environments. Honestly, the whaler is a fantastic atmospheric setting. Harsh weather conditions attack the boat constantly. Waves crash over the side and everything seems hostile. It's like the environment is as big a threat as the monsters themselves. Nothing quite beats the opening segments of Cold Fear. There's a slower pace with limited weapons to use, with some nice world building through the bodies you find and the documents you pick up. There's a cool, creepy story underneath the jank, and I wish they'd give this another stab. If Ubisoft had doubled down on the survival horror and environmental aspects, it could have been a good alternative to its obvious Resident Evil 4 inspiration. It's just not capable of reaching those heights as it is. Cold Fear is dumb and flawed, but it remains a big guilty pleasure of mine to play and enjoy. Trophies would help keep the game interesting. Just look at any Resident Evil list for the number of fun playthrough challenges. A speedrun or maybe a pistol-only run would be cool. I think the best I can hope for is a PlayStation Classic re-release. I can only dream of a Resident Evil style remake with modern graphics, storytelling and mechanics. This setting is just too good not to revisit.
Hansen, one more thing.
Yeah?
You need to.
Time for an obvious one for me. It's the original Monster Hunter. But it's not a realistic expectation, or even a smart one. Monster Hunter is a series that mostly improves with each newly released iteration. Think the differences between the original Street Fighter 2, then Super Street Fighter 2, and then Street Fighter 2 Turbo. Each game in Monster Hunter, like Street Fighter 2, adds more to the roster, the locales, the content, the quality of life. Monster Hunter 1 then is easily the worst one in the whole series. Quality of life is non-existent, and it has the clunkiest combat. You use the right analog stick instead of the face buttons to attack. It makes every combo feel really strange. Everything else is so far removed from Monster Hunter World, but deservedly most popular in the series, that it becomes almost a sick joke to play and compare the two. But it does feel right in its own way somehow. You take on quests, improve your gear, fight bigger monsters, and rinse and repeat. You can instantly recognize animations, sounds, item names. The game has a really slow start, with the first several quests being tutorials and long-winded. We're talking hunting for raw meat, cooking a well-done steak, combining items, and even a whole quest dedicated to fishing. Dreadful for anyone who doesn't know where they're going or what they're doing. All this build-up just to fight 3 small monsters called Velociprés as a reward. If this were Rise or World or Sunbreak, you'd kill these things in one hit. You wouldn't even bother looking at them, but they feel dangerous in Monster Hunter 1, and I like that about it. I would never recommend this as a first Monster Hunter game for anyone, but as a series veteran or someone interested in how they all started, it would be cool to have the opportunity to play it on modern consoles. Even if it copied Worlds, Icepawns and Rise's trophy list, I would still be happy. It would be grindy as hell, annoying and tough, but always nice to have another Monster Hunter Platinum to aim for. This is the most selfish entry I can think of. I just don't think the majority of people, Monster Hunter fans or not, would enjoy the as-it-is gameplay of the first game in the series. That's another 5 PS2 games I would love to see get trophies. Hopefully I can will one of them into existence soon. And in the meantime, I'm just trying to think of what the Time Splitters trophy list is going to look like. I cannot wait to see and get that platinum. I'll be hard at work on a part 3 soon. There's always good PS2 games to talk about. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, it really helps me out. Not financially of course, but definitely mentally. It helps me keep going to make more videos, knowing that 1 or 2 of you enjoy them. I'll always enjoy your comments, whether they're positive or negative. Everyone has a good, valid opinion. So take it easy, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.